What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. What is going on, everybody? How are we doing? You never know in the middle of July what you're going to get when it comes to NFL stories. We're still 3 or 4 weeks away from it really heating up just on a daily basis, stuff happening. We got lucky because I just looked down. Adam Schefter tweeted out that Garrett Wilson, the Jets star wide receiver, got star money. They just gave him a massive contract, almost $90 million guaranteed, so we'll react to that. As well as, speaking of wide receivers, Jauan Jennings goes, give me some of that money, 49ers. And honestly, why he might have a point, the Browns have another back-to-back years with domestic violence situations when it comes to their second-round picks. This year, it's Quinshon Judkins, the once star Ole Miss running back, transferred to Ohio State. Spent some time in jail this weekend, and it's not looking pretty, and a couple other things on the football topic-wise. We got SEC Media Days. We got some quarterback rankings that are out. They're in the ether on the ESPN.com little website. Jeremy Fowler talked to a bunch of people in the league, and he ranked his top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. And something I've just had enough of. I just don't quite understand when it comes to everyone getting up in arms over this one specific player. Like, guys, he won. But before we dive into some football, you know I got to tell you about my friends. You know I got to tell you about my partners. The official ticketing app of this podcast, Gametime. Best in the business. I've been saying forever I want to go to the Sphere. Big reason I can't is because my pregnant wife does not want to go. Don't blame her. I mean, a lot of moving parts. Probably gets sick. She can't booze. Backstreet Boys. It's crazy. Whether it's the Eagles, whether it was Kenny Chesney, whether it's the Backstreet Boys, I feel I know so many people that whenever a new act comes that are there, like opening night, I felt like I knew 3 people that were at Backstreet Boys opening night, that whether I went to high school with, that I've met since, I don't know. And they just looks kind of fun, regardless who the act is. So listen, do you want to go to a concert? I've had some of you guys DM me that have already bought football tickets for this upcoming fall. We got you covered. So Gametime, best in the business. Save you a little money while you're at it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code JOHN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Okay, let's dive in and react to what just happened within the last. I mean, it could have happened yesterday, but the news was just reported by Schefty that Garrett Wilson has signed a massive contract with the New York Jets. I would say the defining move immediately when it came to the new administration, new coach, new GM coming with the Jets was telling Aaron Rodgers, we don't want you. And I remember my reaction was like, Aaron, this happens to every player. I saw LeVar Arrington kind of going off on Jared Goff, talking about the way the Rams treated him on his trade. He's like, quarterbacks get so sensitive when they are told they're cut, even though it happens to literally every other position every single day in the NFL or traded. Like, I mean, it's a transaction league. Yet quarterback, it's like, if you are even thinking about moving me, I need a 6-month head up. And Aaron Rodgers was relieved of his duties, and they signed Justin Fields, which I think is kind of crazy. Not that they got rid of Aaron Rodgers, have no issue with that. But giving Justin Fields $20 million a year, I thought was a bold move. But here's the thing. Garrett Wilson, who Joe Douglas drafted 10th overall, has been really, really good. And I had a question asked to me the other day in the mailbag, like, where does he rank? Is he a top 20 guy? Is he a top 5 guy? And you look at his numbers, and for the most part, he has not played with Aaron Rodgers, and he has been really, really productive. So I think when you have a guy who catches 100 balls last year, 95 balls the year before, 83 as a rookie, playing most of those years with quarterback situations that were not pretty. I mean, that's a lot of Zach Wilson and Mike White producing on an offense that isn't exactly loaded, and they know that it's coming to you. He is an extremely talented player. And I think this shows that the new administration, especially the new coaching staff, believe in the person. Because part of giving a huge extension to a player, especially when you didn't draft them, is you believe in that guy in a short period of time. The way he's wired, the way he works, the way he communicates. Obviously, his skill speaks for itself, but like you're all in on this guy. And the going rate for wide receivers, as we've seen the last couple of years, is $30+ million a year. And the one thing he's shown is he can produce whether a 40-year-old Rodgers is throwing the ball or Mike White's throwing in the ball. And this year, Justin Fields is throwing in the ball, which, probably is not going to go that great. So this is a way to kind of take care of him, knowing a season coming up that you might not have a great passing offense. But we want you to be on this team for whoever the quarterback is over the next 5 years. Because ultimately, and I was a believer in Justin Fields coming out of college, I was wrong. And if I was a betting man, Justin Fields ain't going to be the starter probably in a year, let alone in the next 4 or 5 years. So we want you to be around as we figure this thing out. You're our type guy. You're obviously the league type talent, and we believe that you, when you're giving this type money, can be a top 5-ish wide receiver. This was my issue with giving Brandon Ayuk all that money last year. Like, you're giving a guy $75 million. Now, Garrett Wilson got a little bit more, but $30 million a year for someone that is going to catch 75 balls. Like, I would not do business like this. Where Garrett Wilson, like, in a perfect world, he's a guy catching 110, 120 balls. And a lot of people thought when he was coming out of Ohio State that he could be a top 5 wide receiver. Now, part of being a top 5 wide receiver, Justin Jefferson has had good quarterback play. Obviously, Jamar Chase has had fantastic quarterback play. CeeDee Lamb has played with a top 12 quarterback. Like, you need that guy. Like, Larry Fitzgerald had some years where it's like, I'm throwing in the ball. It's hard. So you're all in on this guy. Totally understand it. Now I think the question moves to, because they have him as a building block, Quinnen Williams is obviously already been paid. He's a piece of the puzzle. They drafted a left tackle a year ago from Penn State. He's obviously a building block. I think the question now turns to Sauce Gardner, who through the first couple of years looked like he was on like a Hall of Fame trajectory. And as a wise man told me last year in the NFL, you know what happened, John? They started calling pass interference on him. He couldn't just mug them all the way down the field. And he is not Deion Sanders or Darrelle Revis when it comes to being a foot athlete. He's not that type of movement guy. So when they started calling pass interference on him and didn't let him be as physical, it got a lot more difficult for him. Now, here's the thing. Aaron Glenn, DB at heart. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator at heart. Steve Wilks, same thing, DB guy. Can they build a pass defense that can, put him in a position to excel? Because I could not give him top of the market money right now. Now, maybe they would. I'd be a little surprised if they do. Now, if he bounces back, has a Pro Bowl year, build around him as well. And then you have this team that's built around, you can go try to find yourself a quarterback in the draft. And I think, obviously, they tried to do that years ago with Zach Wilson. It blew up in their face. But Garrett Wilson has seen a lot of crazy shit and gets financially rewarded today by the Jets. God, I'm fired up. The British Open is here. The biggest names in golf teeing it up across the pond to chase history, the game's original major. Want to make some cash while watching people play golf? You can by betting on the action at Royal Portrush with DraftKings Sportsbook. From the opening round through Championship Sunday, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with live betting, player props, and so much more. If you've never bet on golf before, it's easier than you think. Just pick something simple like a golfer to win the tournament. Rory McIlroy. Can he win his second major of the year? This is where he grew up. Last time it did not go well. He missed the cut. I do think Rory's going to be a major factor. John Rahm playing really well. Scotty Scheffler. Can he finally break through? You can also bet top 10s, top 20s, parlay them together. Does not get any easier. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Speaking of a guy that wants to be financially rewarded, if you're Garrett Wilson, it's pretty simple. Like, I've produced at a high level. I'm clearly one of the more talented players at my position. Like, this is the going rate. And when you're a player, so different like being a kid. If your brother gets a bowl of ice cream, you want a bowl of ice cream. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this work, and especially now, going to the office a lot. And there are probably people at your office like, well, Billy doesn't need to show up on Mondays or Fridays. You're like, well, can I fall under that category as well? I only want to come to the office 2 or 3 days a week as well. They're like, well, we need you here 5 days a week, and we're all human beings. I know comparison is the thief of joy or whatever, but it's a natural thing that we do. We cannot help it, no matter how much we try. And in some businesses, like obviously comps in real estate are really important. Comps in business purchases are really important. Comps in NFL contracts are really important. So you see Jauan Jennings, who last year signed, I would say, a very player-friendly $15 million contract. He had never been that productive. He was a third or fourth string, wide receiver. They were led by Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey, Debo, and he was truly a role player. So you're like, hey, we're going to take care of you. We're going to get it in on this early. He's like, cool. I mean, it was a no-brainer for him to sign that contract. Then things changed a year later. He's like, I'm making $7.5 million right now, which, again, seemed cool last year until I caught 77 balls and had 6 touchdowns. Because I've had a front row seat now for years of watching guys hold out. Now, I understand when Trent Williams holds out. First ballot Hall of Famer. Nick Bosa, one of the best players on the team. Debo Samuel, even though it was kind of controversial at the time, had literally just carried our team to the NFC Championship game. But I saw Brandon Ayuk last year. He was coming off the season where he caught 75 balls and had one more touchdown than me. So, yeah, he had some more yards. But in terms of catch volume, I had a couple more catches. And in terms of touchdowns, he only had one more. So, do I think I'm a $30 million wide receiver? Probably not. But I'm definitely way more valuable than a $7.5 million wide receiver. And here's the other thing. Coming into the season, Ayuk's knee's torn. Ricky Pearsall is already injured. Like, I am clearly the number one wide receiver on this team heading into week 1. Not even debatable. So the going rate when I see that he wants a trade or a contract, some additional money added to his contract, don't totally blame him. Now, if I was the 49ers and trying to talk him off the ledge because I cannot handle another holdout in training camp, I'd go, listen, if you have another big season, which I promise you plan on having, I'd be stunned if he caught 77 balls last year if he didn't catch 80-plus balls this season. He has a good rapport with Brock Purdy. Typically, free agency in the NFL is not good. We have seen in years past where guys, you're like, wait, how much did Christian Kirk just make? It happens all the time where a wide receiver hits free agency and gets overpaid by 20, 30, 40% because of the supply does not equal the demand, right? Randy Moss, Larry Fitzgerald, and Chris Carter and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase don't hit free agency in their prime right now. That's not how it works. Good players stay on their team. So if you're just a solid player, an above average player, a good starter, you get overpaid. So listen, Jauan, you come in and dominate and produce, you'll get easily like 3 years, $60 million. Hell, someone might give you 3 years, $75 million and $50 million guaranteed. Like, you will get some money. And I'm sure that's what the 49ers are trying to convince and talk him into right now. But I totally understand where Jauan Jennings is going. Like, listen, I see Garrett Wilson, who, again, better player than me. I'm not asking for $90 million, but he catches these balls on losing teams. Like, I'm productive on a team who has these expectations to, like, compete for the Super Bowl. Like, you need me. I've been making big plays for you now for a while. And here's the other thing, Kyle. You cannot play in this offense if you don't block. Like, that's a huge thing with Kyle Shanahan and the wide receivers. You have to block. Why? We have a run-first offense. Well, who's arguably the best, if not one of the best, blocking wide receivers in the NFL? Me. So it's like, even if my production is never going to equal the elite of the elites, and if you say in my prime relative to Ayuk before he got injured, I'm not as good as him, okay, we can have an honest conversation here. But I'm the best fucking blocker on the team when it comes to wide receivers, and probably it's not even that close. Ayuk's good, but it's like physically he can't match me, and we see Jauan Jennings throwing guys, into the coolers. So this is a situation that, like, I could see getting complicated. And listen, in life, and a lot of you young people listening to this, I had no leverage in my 20s. Hell, I didn't have that much leverage in most of my 30s. Life's hard. And for most of your life, especially when you're young, you can get animated and agitated when it comes to, your professional working life, whether that's working for someone, whether it's creating your own thing, however it goes. It's a grind, and it can wear on you. But I remember Colin said this a long time ago. You don't get leverage that often in life, and when you do, use it. LeBron is an outlier. He had leverage for 20 plus years. First time ever. Now it's like, you don't really have it anymore. And Jauan Jennings, not saying that he has leverage like he's Jerry Rice in his prime, But the 49ers are pretty dependent on him. Like, they need Jauan Jennings. And the going weight for these wide receivers now, I mean, an average guy makes like $23, $24 million. And again, he's seen it firsthand, wide receivers, them take advantage of the 49ers. This is why teams are so adamant. We don't want to set the precedent. We don't want to set the precedent of doing this. Because the moment you do, once you give the brother ice cream, the other brother wants ice cream as well. And the 49ers capitulated to Ayuk's demands. Jauan Jennings is like, why won't they capitulate to mine? Don't blame him at all for having that mindset. Are you interested in investing in Bitcoin and not sure how to get started? Well, with the Gemini credit card, a card that I've been using now for a couple months, you can dip your toes into the Bitcoin world without even trying. You just spend like you normally do. I go to the gas station, I use it. I go to the grocery store, I use it. I take my wife out, I use it. And I instantly earn up to 4% back in Bitcoin or one of the over 50 other cryptos straight to your account you can choose. There's no annual fee. And the Gemini credit card is a no-brainer. I love it. I use it all the time. And right now, you can grab a $200 Bitcoin intro bonus. So just go to Gemini.com/John to learn more and start earning today. Terms apply. Again, you go to Gemini.com/John and start building your Bitcoin stash now. Terms apply. The Gemini credit card is issued by WebBank, and in order to qualify for the intro $200 crypto bonus, your application must be approved by June 30th, 2025, and spend $3,000 in your first 90 days. Terms apply. Some exclusions apply to instant rewards, in which rewards are deposited when the transaction posts. This content is not investment advice, and trading crypto involves risk. For more details on rates, fees, and other Gemini credit card terms, see rates and fees. Go to Gemini.com/John to learn more and start earning today. The Cleveland Browns. You know, it's funny. I do think their GM and their head coach are good. But I do think, you know, it's kind of like Mike McDaniel and Brandon Staley was like this. And listen, I'm not comparing Mike McDaniel to Brandon Staley. Like, Mike McDaniel has accomplished way more in this league than Brandon Staley. I do think Mike McDaniel could like go to any team and function as an offensive coordinator. And like, I don't think he has a shtick. I just think he's kind of a goofier, weirder guy. I think Brandon Staley is like creating what he thinks a coach looks and sounds like and tries to act like that. But I think both those guys are good examples of, like, you know, they're intellectuals. Coward talks about this with McDaniel, like the media sees themselves in them. Ivy League guy, like smart guy. It's like, oh, it could be me. And I think when you look at Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, a couple Ivy League guys, like, the media wants to root for them. They're intellectually, I would say, superior than most people that work in the league. They're smart guys. It's like the media sees a lot of themselves in those guys because that's how they view themselves. Intellectually superior. Yet both these guys, now, the last couple drafts, they have back-to-back years where they've drafted a guy who has a domestic violence situation before week one. Last year was Mike Hall Jr., who, talking to people in the league, was a giant red flag, who in training camp, allegedly, well, he pleaded no contest, but had to go on probation and fines, putting a gun to his fiance's head. Over the weekend, Quinshon Judkins, the, I'd say, star running back once upon a time, looked like he was going to be a lock. As the scout told me this weekend, I would have bet anything after seeing him as a freshman he would be a top 20 pick. He was SEC Freshman of the Year. I think he ran for like 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns, dominated at Ole Miss as an 18, 19-year-old kid. And then a couple years later, he transfers to Ohio State and still gets drafted in the top 40 picks. He spent basically, I think, close to 24 hours in jail for allegedly throat punching his girlfriend in the chin and throat repeatedly. And this is a disaster situation for the Browns. Also, we'll get into this in a second. The NFL has a problem right now because all these second-rounders refuse to sign their contract because they want every penny guaranteed. And I think all but 2 second-rounders have not signed their contracts. And Judkins is one of those guys. He is an unsigned player. Now, listen, if Judkins was a 7th-round pick and some random running back out of some random school that was like whatever, he would have been cut today. They would cut him immediately. So you know where I stand. I'm not some moral high horse guy. I don't give a shit. I don't look to the NFL to, I would say, guide me to the way society and the way I and my family and my potential children should operate in life. This is entertainment and business for me. I don't give a shit, truly. And if that makes you uncomfortable, I don't know what to tell you. I'm numb to all this stuff. Been doing it long ago. But the simple reality is, if he was a third day pick, if he was a fourth rounder potentially, I think he would be cut today. But he's a high second round pick, and he's a big time talent. And let's face it, they drafted him to replace Nick Chubb. And I think this is what's tough about the NFL is sometimes you replace a guy. Nick Chubb wasn't just a great player before he got injured, was like everything you would want in a person. He checks all the boxes. And this guy, who I started texting around, like, was this guy a character concern? It's like, no, we didn't have any issues. The only negativity we ever heard was Ole Miss was a little bitter, a little butthurt when he transferred, but like, welcome to 2025 college football. Ohio State offered him a bag and he bounced. And in a weird way, he kind of had like an underachieving season. I think a lot of people thought that he would go to Ohio State and dominate. And actually, the other guy, I'd say, had more splash plays. And he's on New England. I mean, they had two guys get drafted in the top of the second round. But this is what makes drafting so difficult. It's like when you draft Mike Hall, a guy with a ton of red flags, you cannot be shocked when you have an issue. That comes with the territory. And teams know that, especially during this time of year where guys are off 40 or 50 days. They used to say it's like first time they have money in their pocket. No, all these guys were rich in college. So like they've had money in their pocket for a while. I mean, this incident allegedly happened in a rented Lamborghini SUV. Like, I got news for you. He was probably renting that Lamborghini SUV when he was at Ohio State as well. This guy's had some coin. But these situations, like you draft Mike Hall, you can't be shocked when something happens. You draft a red flag guy who other teams are like, yeah, he's not on our board. You're not shocked when it happens. But it can also happen when you draft a guy that, like, yeah, we didn't have any character red flags on. And then we get this alert, we get this phone call. We're like, what is going on? Now, I don't expect them to cut him. I don't know exactly how the situation is going to play out with all these second rounders. I do understand where they're coming from. I've had some people DM me. It's like, I thought all these contracts were slotted. Well, they are slotted. The second rounders are not arguing over the total amount of the money that's in the contract. That can't be changed. What they're arguing over, let's just pick a number. Let's say the total value of my contract is $5 million. Unlike the first round, where your first 4 years are fully guaranteed. So when I draft you at pick 12, it doesn't guarantee I'm going to pick up your fifth year option. But when I draft you at pick 12, like the Cowboys just did the guard, or the 49ers did the pass rusher from Georgia, those two guys, whether they become all pros or busts, are guaranteed to see every penny of their first 4 years of their contract. Obviously, the fifth year option, usually, I mean, always, I would say 90% of the time is based on how you play. Sometimes it's like, well, you've underachieved a little bit, but we're the team that drafted you. I think second rounders are fighting for, we want every penny guaranteed, because they're not. And depending on how far you go down, like, we can get out of that contract pretty early. You see guys in the second round cut after a couple years all the time. And the reason they are cut after that period of time typically is because I can get out of the money. It's why you see guys that are drafted in the first round that it's clear they're not very good. You usually play out all 4 years. Every once in a while they're traded, and that means the other team will pick up that portion of the contract. But I would say you have to do a study on this. Over the last 10 years, it feels like 80-90% of the time, a player that I'm not going to pick up the fifth year option on, and if I don't trade him, he plays out those 4 years because I'm paying him no matter what. So I might as well, at most positions, not quarterback, I can rotate you in at defensive end. I can, rotate you in at safety. You can play on special teams. It's what makes quarterback kind of unique. It's why guys like Kenny Pickett and Mac Jones, they get kind of dealt, because if you're going to be a backup and I'm paying you $6-7 million, I might as well just trade you to some team that is willing to pay that. And that's happened recently. But the situation's really ugly. And the Browns have just found themselves in these situations over and over and over again. I had someone text me like, how does Andrew Berry get extended? And I don't know. I mean, the place is just weird. And sometimes you get It's like you get a guy that's never had any issue and then immediately has this issue. It's just like, is this the Browns? I mean, if you're a Browns fan, you're like, how does this keep happening to us? Like, I was excited for this pick. I personally, I was. I was excited to watch this guy play. And now you just have to wonder, like, what's going to happen? One thing that I do think is going to happen is he's going to be on the team. And they'll just kind of deal with, I guess the PR, which I don't even know what that means. Like, what's negative PR? There's a lot of negative PR in Deshaun Watson. They gave him $230 million. They didn't give a shit. So, yeah, not ugly situation. Couple other things. ESPN.com came out with the rankings of their quarterbacks, of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. And they use like scouts and coaches. Personally, like we have established, we know the top four. Like, I'm sorry, Patrick Mahomes is one. Like, I don't even know how you argue. Like, you could say, well, he hasn't been as good as Lamar and Josh the last couple regular seasons. Yeah, I don't care. I watch him make the big plays in the playoffs, get the job done over and over. Like, he has just cemented it one until someone takes him down. However you want to rank the next three guys, like, I'm not going to argue with you. If you would take Burrow over Josh Allen and Lamar, like, I wouldn't. I would take Josh. But if you want to take Joe Burrow over Lamar, like, you could make that argument. If you put Burrow on the Ravens this year, do they win the Super Bowl? I think you can make that argument. If you put Joe Burrow last year on the Ravens healthy, they definitely beat the Chiefs in Baltimore. So if you want to put Lamar Jackson fourth of those three guys, Patrick one, Josh, Joe Burrow in some order, 2, 3, and Lamar fourth. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but those guys are cemented at 4. Basically from 5 to 10, like, you can put a group of any guy. Here's the thing, the polarizing player that everyone freaks out about is Jalen Hurts. There were points in time last year when everyone was arguing, like, what's up with the Eagles passing game? It was a reported story based on a player on the team that A.J. Brown did not like Jalen Hurts, and it was pretty clear. It's like, yeah, you can't really get him the ball. Here's what I don't understand. The season ended. Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl. Pretty sure it was the Super Bowl MVP. I Googled his career earnings. He's made $70 million up to this point. Over the course of the next 3 years, that number will be $200 million. I saw Sirianni today told Reuben Frank, who's a local guy, like, he's so tired of it. He thinks it's BS. All this guy does is win. Who gives a fuck? Jalen won. So whether you want to put him at 5, whether you want to put him at 10, like, this isn't a Dak. This isn't a Kirk Cousins. This isn't even a Jared Goff situation. Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl and played his best game in the Super Bowl. 2 of 3 years he's been in the Super Bowl and balled out. He's printing money. He is the starting quarterback for the foreseeable future for the Eagles. So some made-up lists that we do every time during this period of time, everyone freaks out about. I don't understand. I really don't, because it doesn't matter. Like, Jalen Hurts, the Eagles, Howie, they won. So whether we put him at 6, whether we put him at 10, who cares? It's like, well, you can't have him below Goff. It's like, well, I watch this guy on a week-in, week-out basis. If it's based on the regular season, like, I think you can. Because I could make the argument in an individual game, if our teams are the exact same, if I have Matt Stafford at quarterback, I can beat anybody. I can beat anybody. I can't say that about Dak. I can't say that about Jared Goff. Jared Goff doesn't have a great offensive line. He can't move. And I like Jared Goff. I'd say that about the Eagles. If you told me the Eagles had random, average weapons, it's not like Jalen Hurts is sitting there in the pocket picking you apart. He has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and fucking Saquon Barkley. Pretty good little group. I've seen the last couple years Matt Stafford come down the stretch with a team that's okay. I actually think the Rams, in a weird way, are a little overrated from a talent perspective, especially on offense. Like throwing to Puka Nacua but he's 37 years old, and if you're basing this on, like, listen, we saw last year, I would have had C.J. Stroud in the top group, and then C.J. Stroud kind of fell off a cliff relative to the standard. Everyone's saying Jaden Daniels, lock top 5 quarterback. Like, we'll see. Part of being a great player in sports is doing it every single year. Like, part of Patrick Mahomes is like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson's, like, every single year. I know what I'm getting. Every single year, I know what I'm getting. We saw C.J. Stroud, like, what is going on? Because once you get to the top of the mountain, everyone's gunning for you. That's when the wind blows the hardest. It's what makes it so impressive about all these great players. Like, do you know how hard it is to do like Tiger Woods and Tom Brady did for like a decade plus? Where every single time you play, people are coming for your throats. They circle you as the guy they want to be. Every time Aaron Judge plays a game, it's like it's a big deal as I'm the pitcher if I can get this guy out. You're the guy that I have circled in the lineup. Yet every single year, boom, another home run. Another All Star game, another Silver Slugger, another first team All League. It's very very difficult to do that. It's what makes Peyton Manning's and Tom Brady's and Drew Brees' and Aaron Rodgers' career so impressive. No, any position, like for a decade straight, every single team that played Aaron Donald was like, how do we stop this guy? What do we do to double team this guy? What do we do to chip this guy? And I just always I get a little hesitant because look, I know what I saw. It was awesome. I mean, it was undisputable. It's undisputed how great he was coming down the stretch, especially in those playoff games in Detroit. Now the Detroit defense was pretty bad, injury wise, but it's like you just watched him as poise in the pocket. He was fucking awesome. But everyone just anointing him like he's gonna be, I don't know, Steve Young or something. Like it's difficult to do. Um, so yeah, I just don't understand why people freak out. Even the teams, it's like, guys, you won the Super Bowl. Like you won, Jalen. And I'm not saying Jalen saying any of this, but it's like you guys get the W on your side. Last but not least, the SEC media days kicking off today. Obviously, the two best conferences, the Big Ten now has won the championship the last 2 years. I just think the SEC, and part of it is, you know, in the Big Ten, if you think about it, a lot of the states their teams play, their college team is not the biggest team in the region, right? Michigan, Ann Arbor, but like now the Lions are good. The NFL is just bigger than college football. Now you could argue that Ohio State football is bigger than the Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals, but the NFL has a huge footprint in these areas, like Wisconsin. What do you think the biggest team is there? Wisconsin Badgers, or the Green Bay Packers, right? Minnesota. You think it's the Minnesota college football team or the Vikings, right? That's one huge advantage the SEC has is Alabama and Auburn ain't competing against anyone in that state, right? To me, LSU football is just bigger than the Saints. Now you could argue when Drew Brees and Sean Payton were in their heyday, but like going into this season, it's not even close. The comparison of what is a bigger deal, LSU football or the New Orleans Saints in Florida. Like, is the University of Florida, University of Miami, Florida State outdone by the Miami Hurricanes in 2025? I don't believe that. So one thing the SEC has is a huge advantage of not competing against the NFL the same way as some of these other states. And I mean, I had a front row seat when Harbaugh turned Stanford around, and then David Shaw had like 4 straight years where they finished the season in the top five. They struggled to get like 10,000 people there. It was crazy, but it was like we care about the NFL here. And I'm not saying that those teams in the Big Ten don't care about football. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that that's a huge advantage the SEC has in terms of the competition against the NFL and the interest. It's just not the same. And I think sometimes in the Big Ten you split that a little bit where the SEC doesn't. And I think when you turn on the SEC Media Day, some of the highlights, it honestly feels like the NFL. And I think it's become the NFL light. I think the buzz of the coaches, I didn't know how they would do once Saban retired. I had a buddy text me today that I guess Greg McElroy said that he had heard that Saban might come back. He didn't say the team. I was like, Alabama, but Kalen DeBoer's buyout is $75 million. That's not happening. He would never go to Auburn. Have a hard time seeing him go to Florida. Kirby's not going anywhere. Sark's not going anywhere. So I have a hard time seeing Saban come back, but I don't know if Greg McElroy would just make that up. I think college football this year, the buzz behind this, the transfer portal, there's part of the NFL is there are just these strict rules. Salary cap, salary cap. It's just I can acquire this player, I can't. Football or college football, there's a huge wild, wild west element to this, and I would say no conference has more of that than the SEC, where it's like I don't care what the new rules are, I don't feel like any of them are following. Like even on the internet now, like we do business with a lot of credit card companies or gambling companies. Like it's pretty strict. You got to be very careful about what you say. 15, 20 years ago, you could say whatever you wanted. There was never a better place to do business, in the last 50 years than literally the internet probably in the early mid 2000s because there weren't any rules. It was the wild, wild west. And everyone that got involved, if you knew what you were doing, profited greatly. And now there are still less rules than some industries, but relative to what it used to be, it's dramatically different. Now, there's still a wild, wild west element to the internet. You can push the envelope in different things and try different things, and just it's not like if you work in a quote unquote corporate structure sometimes. But I think the SEC, what makes it so fascinating, it just feels like anything goes. And there's not a story that can come out about players, coaches, universities that would surprise you. And that's one thing the Big Ten, even if they are pushing the envelope as well, they feel a little more buttoned up that way. And that might just be perception. Like if you're telling me Ohio State is doing everything that Georgia and LSU are doing in terms of like pushing the envelope and some shady shit, I wouldn't blame them. I would do that as well. But I'm very, very excited for this college football season. I mean, we got takes flying everywhere about Arch Manning. I saw Jordan Rogers, Aaron's brother, that they haven't spoken in a decade, called says like the hype train's just out of control. It's like I kind of agree with him. I now unless he answers the hype train and is like Andrew Luck immediately, I just don't know how he lives up to it. If he is just like a solid NFL prospect this year, it's going to feel very disappointing, and that's not his fault because the hype train behind him is like he's LeBron James or Tiger Woods or, which happens very, very rarely. But a lot of times, like LeBron James hype train, it was pretty clear. I remember in 2002 watching that high school game that was on ESPN with Dickie V calling it. Like, this guy's fucking amazing. I remember Tiger Woods winning the U.S. Amateur while he was at Stanford. Everyone's like, this guy's amazing. This guy hasn't played. And we know how difficult the SEC is. So I'm excited to watch him. I'm pro Arch Manning. But I do agree that it's going to be hard for him to live up to the hype. I really believe that. Now, maybe their defense is so good, they can run the ball. It doesn't matter, but it's going to be the biggest story by far in college football.